One can only imagine the benefit that accrues to such devotee.
Nahi etat param ascharya svardhunya yad ihoditam ananta charanam bhoja prasutaya bhavachida.
Translation: because Mother Ganges emanates from the lotus toe of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Anantadev, she is able to liberate one from material bondage. Therefore, whatever is described herewith about her is not at all wonderful. Purport: it has actually been seen that anyone who regularly worships Mother Ganges simply by bathing in her water keeps very good health and gradually becomes a devotee of the Lord. This is this is the effect of bathing in the water of Ganges. Bathing in the Ganges is recommended in all Vedic Shastras, and one who takes to this path will certainly be completely freed from all sinful reactions. The practical example of this is the sons of Maharaj Sagara went to the heavenly planets when water from the Ganges merely touched the ashes of their burnt bodies.
Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Sri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Utapadakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatham Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Pada Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhan Vitansha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostate Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Panchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya eva cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So, thank you everyone for joining and allowing us to be in your association. Uh, I again start by seeking the blessings of all the Vaishnavas. Uh, the Bhakti Center community has nurtured us in our spiritual life, and by being in the association of all the devotees and um, serving together and hearing from all the great Vaishnavas over the past couple of months here, we are very grateful for that. So I want to thank. At any point, if we misquote or misspeak anything, please correct us. Um, with that, we can we are in Canto 9, Chapter 9. The Canto 9 is called Liberation, and we just to sort of give a set the scene, made a few slides. So in this particular episode, Mother Ganga has already entered the earth, and it touches the burnt ashes of um, sons of King Sagara. So just to sort of set a scene and the context of where we are here. So from chapter 6 of this canto, there is the different kings of the Sun dynasty are described. So Sun dynasty is one of the very important Kshatriya clans that come along with the lunar dynasty, and there are some very important notable kings that we've tried to mention here, not all of them are mentioned, but these are some that start from the sun god himself, Vivaswan. So we hear about Vivaswan in Bhagavad Gita. And we also hear in the Bhagavad Gita about the different saintly kings, because the Raja Rishis, these are important personalities who embody the message of uh, who embody the message of the Lord and are able to inspire the inhabitants of their kingdom. So these are some important persons, Raj Rishis. These rishis do not always are not only concerned with the economic welfare of their people, but also their spiritual welfare. So some of them are mentioned here, and we also see that there will be King Khatvanga, followed by the personality of Godhead, uh, Lord Rama, taking birth in this important Sun dynasty. So King Sagara, um, who had Ashwamedh Yagya, and as part of the Ashwamedh Yagya, you let a horse loose free and let it wander. And apparently the horse was lost, and the sons of Sagara went to search for the horse. And they found a horse near the ashram of Lord Kapila Dev, who is also an incarnation of the Supreme Lord. Um, and they accused the Lord of stealing the horse. And in return, they got cursed and they were burned into ashes. Um, now, Sagara had had another son called Amshuman, who took upon himself to find the horse and find these lost 60,000 sons of King Sagara. And he ultimately ends up being in the ashram of Kapila Muni and finds out that all of them have, unfortunately, been burned and passed on. So um, on the advice of Kapila Muni, who advises Anshuman to find, in order for them to get delivered to have a proper destination after in the next life. The only way for them to get deliverance is if their ashes get touched by the waters of River Ganges. Now, at this time, River Ganges is not flowing on the planet Earth. It's only flowing in the celestial or the heavenly planets. So there is, Anshuman takes upon himself this task of bringing Ganga to the earthly realms. So, so not just his relatives or cousins or his brothers be benefited by it, but all the future generations can get purified by by coming in contact with the holy waters of the Ganga River. So at this point, he tries a lot to bring the Ganges back, but bring the Ganges to the earth, but he fails, and his son Dilipa also tries, but he fails again. Finally, Anshuman's grandson, Bhagirath, who is the main character of the theme of today's verse, he successfully is able to please Mother Ganges and convince her to come to the planet Earth. So Mother Ganges puts two conditions to come to Earth. She wants her because she's flowing from the heavenly planets. The force is going to be so strong that it can pierce the earthly realm, and she can end up being in the netherly kingdom, the Patal Loka. And she doesn't want that, so she wants someone to be able to control her flow. And the second thing is because of Mother Ganga is actually she's spiritual in nature. So when the sinful people living on the planet Earth take bath or touch her water, there has to be some way for those sins to go away. And Bhagirath Muni proposes two things, that he prays to Lord Shiva to be able to be that person to control the flow of her water. And secondly, when he convinces Ganga that when the pure devotees of the Lord who reside on this earth along with the sinful people take bath, automatically the sins will be nullified or neutralized. So those two proposals, Ganga is satisfied, and she agrees to come. And then we heard a lot about this particular chapter can get very technical. It was one of the challenges that there's like a lot of facts after fact, but when we hear in the association of devotees, there are some very nectarian things that uh, come out of this whole discussion of the Sun dynasty and all the different things that happen here. So we heard Brajlila Prabhu talk about the importance of Lord Shiva in our Vaishnava philosophy and how we should approach Lord Shiva in the right way. We also heard yesterday um, from Venkata Bhatta Prabhu how the exchange between the devotee and the mother Ganges is so it's so intimate and it's so pure. So and we also while researching about this, we also came across this article by our very own Gausharan Prabhu, who had written a BTG article on the importance of Lord Shiva, which was so well researched and summarized all the important things. So it's been a great learning. So with that, was sort of the setting the scene. Um, so okay. So we thought of these four themes, and I would love to hear from other devotees also if there are any other themes that we should quickly touch base on for today. Um, there is the intense concern of Bhagirathas for his forefathers, the sons of Sagara. The position of Lord Shiva, which has already been discussed, but we will quickly revise some of that. And but really, the main theme topic of today's verses is the indomitable spirit of Bhagirath and glories of Mother Ganga. So we will try to touch upon these topics. Um, so I think the first two are we will try to go through pretty fast. So we can keep some time for the second two, which are the more important ones. So we observe here that all the efforts, the endeavors that Bhagirath, his father, and his father, and also Anshuman have put in order for a real genuine concern for the destination of forefathers. And it's an important thing because in the Vedic culture, uh, the rites that we perform so that our forefathers, not just our immediate parents or family members, but also all the generations that have come before us, because of whom we were able to take this human form of life that allows us to pursue the uh, path of devotion, right? So we have to express our gratitude towards them. So we see that come out of the Bhagirath's endeavors to ensure that his forefathers are get a proper destination, and all the effort of getting Mother Ganges to flow was for his forefathers. But because of that endeavor, all the future generations are benefited, who are taking birth on this planet. Um, so it's an important thing, and we see this not just in the Vedic culture, but also across different cultures, even the Native American culture, the East Asian culture, the importance of that is given to ancestors. And worshipping his ancestors is another part where we hear in Bhagavad Gita that Krishna says that those who worship the ancestors go back to the planet of ancestors. So there is a planet called Pitraloka, where some of our ancestors can be residing. Uh, but not just like in terms of worshipping them, but also making sure that they get the proper rights. But I think we also hear in the Bhagavad Gita that no matter, even if you are in the Pitraloka or if you are in any planet, starting from the topmost planet of Brahmaloka to the to the bottommost, including a small ant, they are subject to the problem of repeated birth and death. So Krishna says that the only way to come out of this cycle of birth and death, whether you are in any planet in this material realm, is to take the shelter of the lotus feet of the Lord. And after that, there is no return to this world. So The best mode of praying for our forefathers is by becoming ourselves, endeavoring on the path of perfection, by trying to become devotees and um, following these footsteps of the great acharyas, and by that all our forefathers can be benefited. So and we hear in Lord Narasimha explaining to Prahlad Maharaj that if by becoming, because Lord Prahlad Maharaj was very nervous about his father, although the father had perpetuated so many um, so many they had literally tortured his son, but still he had this compassion for his father, that where I want my father to be protected. And he had been an enemy of Lord Vishnu throughout his life, but still, because Prahlad Maharaj was such a perfect soul, such pure devotee of the Lord, Lord Narasimha, they promised that not just his father but his 21 generations above will be liberated. So I think so it's important that by pursuing the path of bhakti, we are also helping our forefathers. And the position of Lord Shiva is important. So Lord Shiva has mercifully agreed to hold on to the force of Ganges. So um, and because of his his mercy, we are able to get the mercy of Lord Ganga here, of Mother Ganges on the earth. So the position of Lord Shiva is very important. He is not Jiva Tattva like others. So, but he's also not the Supreme Lord. His position is somewhere between the Supreme Lord and the Jiva Tattva. But he is called Ashutosha because he is one of the most, very kind and very merciful personality, because he also attracts people who are in the lower modes, people who uh, worship the spirits, the ghosts, people who are addicted to intoxication. So the Lord is so merciful that he is through the medium of Lord Shiva, he is able to provide a means to elevate consciousness of people who are in the lower modes. So yeah, with that, I'll turn to Brajavilasini for the next topics. So.
Yeah, so this the pastime of Bhagirath is kind of very personal to me. Sorry. Yeah, the pastime of King Bhagirath is very personal to me. Like while growing up, my mom always gave this example for like to build resilience and the spirit of effort and endeavor. So if I had any struggles, I would look up to personalities like King Bhagirath to kind of build the strength and resilience to like overcome any unseemingly difficult situations. And this is very hope giving in a way as well for devotees. Like even though there are two generations who have tried, like you have seen King Anshuman, he tries to bring the Ganges down, and then you have King Dilipa who does the same thing, but they tried and they were unsuccessful. But in this case, Bhagirath never said, oh, because King Anshuman or my grandfather and my father couldn't do it, what's the point of me even trying? He still tried and he endeavored. This this spirit of endeavor, the spirit of like having the pure intent to render service, and this kind of this kind of builds our resiliency and in devotional life. So even when there are like ups and downs, and when there are many things that seemingly feel impossible, we know that by Krishna's mercy, and if we desire, things will happen. Like Radhanath Maharaj always says, if we have like a pure intent to render some service, the Lord and his representatives will help in every possible way to make things that are impossible possible. And even if we look at Srila Prabhupada's life, I mean, who thought a 70-year-old man coming on Jaladuta, he has 2 heart attacks, living in a foreign country where he knows no one, has $8, And when Prabhupada landed here, he wrote in the Lilamrit, you see, he mentioned that he didn't know whether to see left or to see right. But still things, and there was a time when nothing was happening, but still Prabhupada endeavored. And this is kind of a lesson that we learn from the descent of Mother Ganges, that if we remain fixed in our goal of life, things, and we do it even, and we go beyond our comfort zone and constantly endeavor, things will start to manifest and we will be able to achieve the goal of life. Bhakti Tirth Maharaj always says that when our desire to serve is beyond our capacity, but we still act without any hesitation and do it anyway, that is the moment where empowerment occurs. So in this way, Bhagirath's story is kind of hope giving for us, that when we know that if we follow a goal and we endeavor, Krishna may not give it to us immediately, but if we still stick on to it, it will eventually happen. So sometimes, like in our practice of spiritual life, we may not have taste to chant the holy name, or we may not be excited about few things, or we might just be too lethargic about doing some services. But if we still do it anyway, that's the time we see that, oh wow, we do it and we feel, oh wow, we have pleased, we're making an attempt to please Guru and Krishna. And it's not just the lesson that we learn from Bhagirath, even if we listen, even if we read about Ganga herself, like it is so inspirational. Like Radhanath Maharaj, I think he mentions in Journey Home that how, if you see how Ganga begins her course from the Himalayan mountains and she flows without stopping into the sea. And despite all the obstructions, she flows very gracefully. And that's what Mother Ganges teaches us, that if we have to attain to our sea of our aspiration, we must kind of persevere in our goal and never be discouraged by any impediments. Like even in her path, there are like impediments like rocks and so many other things. And even in our life, there are like impediments in the river of our life. But if we somehow learn not to be disturbed by those rocks and somehow learn to flow around them and never give up, by Lord's mercy, we'll always find the way and reach the goal of life. But we just have to not be feel like not disturbed and just find the flow around them. So coming back to the purport, um, Prabhupada writes that one who regularly worships Mother Ganges simply by bathing in her water and keeps very good health and gradually becomes the devotee of the Lord. And this is the effect that bathing in the water of the Ganges has. And it is recommended in all the Vedic Shastras. And one who takes to this path will be completely be freed from all sinful reactions. And that is fact. If you see, like, if you listen, if you read through the Shastras, you understand. And I think Radhanath Maharaj mentions in one of his lectures that Ganga always looks at the way how to serve the Lord. And while the Krishna's pastimes were happening on the banks of Yamuna, Ganga was always thinking like, wow, the river Yamuna is doing so much wonderful service. The Gopas are bathing in her, the Krishna and Balram are playing and bathing in there, and they're bringing so many cows, calves, and bulls, and they're also all enjoying drinking her water. And she's providing such beautiful arrangements for these pastimes to happen. And even the Ras Leela kind of happens at the banks of the Ganges. Krishna is always playing the flute on the banks of the Ganges. Sorry. On the banks of Yamuna. And Yamuna is just constantly serving. All she wants to do is like, she's like has the desire to serve and facilitate that love and facilitate all that pastimes. And this makes Ganga so happy to see her good fortune. But then she also has this longing that if she can do some similar service, and she could also be a pastime of, she could also help facilitate in arranging for the pastimes of the Lord. So she did some tapasya, and Krishna gave her a blessing that in Kali Yuga that Radha Krishna will appear as Gauranga Mahaprabhu and perform the same Braj Leela in Navadvip, and she will be able to assist them in every way. And actually she assisted them. If you read through the pastimes of Navadvip, you see that she assisted the devotees and the Lord in every possible way. Like when you see, like when Gauranga Mahaprabhu decided to appear, he chose to do it during an eclipse when everyone was kind of having a bath in the Ganges and was there on the banks of the river and praying. When he was a little boy, his mother would make all the nice arrangements for him to have a bath in the Ganges. And when he was a student, for the major portion of the day, he would bathe and play in the river Ganges. Similarly, all his childhood pastimes, they kind of, like Krishna and the Gopas, they revolve around on the banks of the Ganges. And similarly, during the debate of Keshav Kashmiri, uh, Nimai Pandit says that if he could compose instantly the verses glorifying Ganga Devi, so you can understand, like on the bank of the Ganges, this debate is happening, and Keshav Kashmiri is asked to glorify Ganga, and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu kind of finds flaws in his grammar when he glorifies the Ganga. So it is here also this pastime is occurred where Chaitanya Mahaprabhu smashes the ego of Keshav Kashmiri. And he also inaugurated the Sankirtana movement on the bank of the Ganges. He took sannyas in Katwa, which is also on the bank of the Ganges. So you can, so basically I'm trying to say here is like, you can see how enthusiastic and so eager, and she was so eager to assist Lord Chaitanya in his pastimes and facilitating all the pastimes of Navadvip and serving the devotees of Navadvip. And even when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, after taking sannyas, he always said that he's going to go to Bengal only for two reasons. One is to see his mother Sachi, and one is to see Mother Ganga. So you kind of realize how important the position of Mother Ganga is for devotees. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu always kind of glorifies her by saying that anyone who bathes in the Ganges and touches the Ganga and drinks the Ganga will get Krishna Prema, or love of God.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean the glories of the Ganga are unlimited. Of the Mother Ganges, they are unlimited. I mean, we can go and on and on. In 2019, we had the opportunity to go to Haridwar and actually witness the Ganga Aarti, where hundreds of thousands of people every evening they come and they perform Aarti of Mother Ganga. And even today, if you think, if without Mother Ganga, there would not have been India as we understand it as a political nation. There would be no India without Ganga. There are more than, I think, close to half a billion people who who survive because of Mother Ganga, who get their water, and the land, the fertile land, because of Mother Ganga, is able to sustain such a big population and help them in their progress towards from their human life to help them in their journey. So Mother Ganga is sort of indispensable from, if you think of the Vedic culture. So very important personality, and she's a person, because as we heard from Rajlila Prabhu, that she's a personality because the Ganga is not just an ordinary river.
Mm-hmm.
She comes from the spiritual world, and in the spiritual world, actually, she's the causal ocean who descends first in the spiritual, in the heavenly planets, and then has descended down to the earth.
Mm-hmm.
So in the spiritual world, there is everything is personality, even the rock, the milk, as we hear in the pastimes of Damodar pastimes, even the milk has personality. So she's a personality and she's a mother. So,
Yeah.
And yeah.
Yeah, to add in this, Srila Vallabhacharya actually describes Ganga that she actually manifests in three ways. One is as a river, like who provides for everyone and living there, like as a river. And second is as a pilgrimage, like people go to the Ganges, like how they would go to Vrindavan or Mayapur or any other kshetras, and they pray to her for any other shape. If you would go to any, they pray for devotional service or pray for anything material. So Ganga is seen as a pilgrimage spot as well, and also as and the third, she's seen as like a deity, as a goddess. She's like a potency of the supreme personality of Godhead's energy. So she's also seen as a deity, like who can fulfill desires and plays an important role in Krishna's pastime.
Yeah, so a little bit about, I'm not sure if I'm just going to check if anyone has any discussion or any points to share. Oh yeah, there are some chats, sorry. Oh yes, Queen Kunti's prayers, yes. Thank you so much for sharing.
And I think Prabhupada also mentions in one of the purport, I think it's, let me pull it up. Yeah. I think in fifth canto, Prabhupada mentions that the river Ganges is called Patita Pavani, the deliverer of all sinful living beings. And it is a proven fact that a person who regularly bathes in the Ganges is purified both externally and internally. Externally, his body becomes immune to all kinds of diseases, and internally, he gradually develops a devotional attitude toward the supreme personality of Godhead.
Yeah. Also, we also referred to Satyaraj Prabhu's book on the hidden glory of India, and it describes even biologists and people who have studied, chemistry professors have studied the waters of the Ganges, and they find that there is a mystic potency for it to absorb a lot of heavy toxic chemicals, and there is no scientific explanation that they have given. These are some Nobel laureates who have researched it. So it's a very special river. I also want to talk about a little bit about the endeavor that we see, the Bhagirat Prayasa, that Prayatna, which is sort of a used across languages in India to communicate that as Prabhupada says, the word impossible is in Fool's Dictionary. And we heard also Adipurush Prabhu's in our last class, he shared with us that Prabhupada gave the task of doubling the seva every year, and it seems impossible. So it's sort of hope giving, as Brajavilasini said, that even in our personal lives we sometimes struggle because it's the material world is, they call it the bhavasagar. It looks like an insurmountable ocean that cannot be crossed ever. But by taking shelter of the lotus feet and following the footsteps of the acharyas, that the empowerment comes, which makes it look like a small water pond that is created by the footprint of a calf. Mm-hmm. So, when Krishna is on the side, on our side, there is always victory, as we know from the last verse of Bhagavad Gita. Wherever there is Krishna, there is victory, and there is unlimited opulence and victory. So, so yeah, and a little bit about the because here it's mentioned that it flows from the toe of Lord Anantadev. There is a little bit of background around how Mother Ganges even entered the material world, because she is actually she is a causal ocean, which is a boundary between the material and the spiritual world. So we have to refer to the pastimes of Lord Vamandev. So when Lord Vamandev appeared, and we know this pastime with Bali Maharaj, he was taking these big footsteps that covered the entire universe. So the the universe is considered to be a form of a golden egg. It has all the lokas, the higher spirit, the higher heavenly planets, the earthly planets, and the hellish planets. They are all part of a single universe, and the universe has a covering, and that's why it looks like an egg, the Hiranya Garbhaya, the golden egg. And when Lord Vamandev was taking these big steps that was, that sort of encompassed the entire universe, one of the nails of his left toe hit the boundary of the universe. And when it hit the boundary, it created an opening for and these ocean and these universes, like the eggs, are floating in the causal ocean. So when it hit the boundary and created a piercing, there's some water from the causal ocean, like a drops of drip, started dripping down. So drip, in that sense, for us, it's still a huge, it's a big volume of water. So it entered the heavenly kingdom, but it never came to the earthly realms. And so, thanks to the efforts of King Bhagirath, it was able to come to planet Earth. Um, so yeah, there are a lot of wonderful pastimes around Lord, Mother Ganges. Not only directly Mother Ganges, but also, as we heard, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's pastimes. Mother Ganges is always there in the pastimes. So all glories to Mother Ganges. And so I just, I think, was there anything else you would like to share that we missed? I think with that, maybe just we can read through the chats. Hare Krishna, this is from question from Athena. Thank you, Athena. To check, since causal ocean, Viraj River, is also Ganga, does this mean Ganga Devi is the same personality behind the causal ocean? Also, if Ganga is purely spiritual, cannot be contaminated, how it can get so materially dirty nowadays in certain parts of India? Yes, that was also what I was wondering, and we'll try to answer, but we would defer it to some other senior devotees on the call to answer the first part, especially. So on the second part, I think the way I see it is that when we visit some of these holy places, we look at the external conditions, even Mathura, Vrindavan. Uh, we see it from our material eyes, and Ganga also. It's a very unfortunate situation that because of certain political government decisions, they have the Ganga looks very impure, and there is a lot of chemical factories, especially when it goes down to the plains. It's really amazing as long as it's in the mountains, but as soon as it hits the plains where there is a lot of heavily densely populated areas, it starts getting dirty. But nevertheless, it is still it's on the spiritual side. When we see Ganga through the eyes of the scriptures or through the eyes of pure devotees who explain glories, like a lot of the content we shared is from lectures, classes from His Holiness Radhanath Swami, and when we see through the lens of their eyes, we can appreciate that. And these pastimes of Ganga appeared hundreds of thousands of years ago. So hopefully, if we can take some measures to clean the Ganga effort, at least also externally, not just in internal, the spiritual potency, but also externally, I'm hoping there can be efforts to clean it up. So, but I would defer it to anyone else to answer.
If you have anyone has any comments to make.
Thank you so much, both of you, for preparing so nicely and presenting various topics. I especially like how you spoke on the determination of Bhagirath and also about the glories of Mother Ganga being involved in the pastime, serving in the pastimes of Lord Chaitanya. Thank you very much. Just one point, if I wanted to add, I would just say regarding Athena's question, the one difference between Viraja River and Ganga, it's not like a different. Viraja is encircling the material world, but the speciality of Ganges is she touches the lotus feet of the Supreme Lord. When Viraja touches the lotus feet of the Supreme Lord, when he is soaking the whole, that's why she is considered Charanamat, because she washes the lotus feet of the Lord and enters. That's one thing I know. but I'm not sure if Ganga Devi is the personality of Viraja. But the difference is like she is considered as the Charanamrit, the lotus, the water which washed the lotus feet of the Supreme Lord. So by connection with Vaman Dev, Viraja becomes Ganga Devi. That's what I've heard, but I'm not sure. Personality wise, I don't know. So thank you very much for taking time to coordinate and prepare. So I really appreciate the effort that you both took. Thank you.
Be grateful to everyone, and please forgive us for anything we misquoted. And always grateful for this opportunity. And through this exercise, we just learned there is so much.
It's purifying more for us. It's sake for our purification.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you very much. Adipushpa, you want to add something?
We're really relishing, the joy and enthusiasm and the faith that you're exhibiting by this wonderful class. And we're here to glorify Krishna. So we say, how wonderful is Krishna that he's providing various means of purification and sustenance like Mother Ganges. So we're glorifying the Ganges, but we're also glorifying Krishna, who's providing, like Gaur-Sharan Prabhu was saying, the Ganges, in touch with the lotus feet of the Lord, became a powerful sanctifying agent. And there are different levels of existence, parastas, matu, bhavan, yovik, datsanatana, that beyond this material level, like Adina was saying, that materially the Ganges might seem like this, beyond this material level that we perceive with our gross senses, there's another dimension of existence. And by Krishna's grace, that other level is transcendental, never touched by any material contamination. And so if a person, for the pleasure of Krishna and for our purification, approaches Mother Ganges, certainly it is effective. The simple sinful contamination, the reactions are washed away. And then bathing in Mother Jamuna, not only the debt, the reactions are washed away, but Mother Jamuna washes away the desire to generate more debt. Sinful desire is washed away by engaging in Mother Jamuna. And then bathing in the lotus feet of the spiritual master, besides just removing the negative or refraining from generating more negative, by bathing in the lotus feet of the spiritual master, we come to devotional service to Krishna, which is in the positive direction. And it allows us to go forward in spiritual life and also to, by Krishna's grace, uplift others. How wonderful is Krishna. But thank you for the wonderful class. Fantastic. Perfect. Very good.
Thank you so much for the encouragement, and everyone else, Gaur Kumar Prabhu and Manjari, Imangi, Jamuna Jaya, we are grateful for being in your association. We have been able to make some progress in spiritual life. So always grateful for your encouragement. Oh yes, please. Anyone wants to unmute, please share your thoughts.
Share your thoughts and comments.
Hare Krishna, Dandavat Pranams. Thank you so much for such a wonderful lecture, presented so nicely. I loved all the wonderful stories around Mother Ganges specifically. It's very inspiring, encouraging, and I personally can't wait to go back to India whenever Krishna sanctions it. I wanted to just, comment and reflect all that was said around the questions that I posted. So thank you so much to everyone. About the first one, and this is just clarifying the logic and technicalities. I think it's in Chaitanya Charitamrita that says that the causal ocean is the Raja River. And if Ganges is the causal ocean, then therefore it is the Raja River. And Gaur-Sharan Prabhu had mentioned that a key difference is that, I guess, the Ganges has touched the lotus feet of the Lord. But if it is the same entity, then just to check, the Raja River should have also been, I guess, touched by the river of the Lord. Unless, I guess, Gaur-Sharan Prabhu is saying that it seems as completely different entities. And I'm just clarifying that logic only because if A equals B, B equals C, then A equals C. And so Ganges is the Raja River, and therefore there should be no difference. Please let me know if that maybe isn't correct from a logical perspective. And perhaps that one aspect somehow can exist differently in the spiritual world. I'm not sure. And then to the last question of what I was taking in, I guess my question was, if something is purely spiritual, nothing material can touch it. It's almost like it's not possible. That's why in the Bhagavad Gita, the soul, which is purely spirit, cannot be cut, cannot be burned. And so nothing material can touch it. Yet we do see that Mother Ganges has chemicals. Fortunately, people are polluting it. But the way perhaps I'm interpreting it, or another explanation, is while materially it, I would say, is existing in the material world, no matter how many chemicals or pollutants are put in it, it never detracts from her spiritual potency. So perhaps that is an explanation, or seek confirmation on both of those to make sure my thought process is also correct. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Athena. I'll go do the easier one first. The second one, yes, I think I agree with you what you said, and that's also my understanding. On the first question, we'll have to go and probably do some more reading and can get back to you. But if anyone else
has any thoughts,
yes, please.
Regarding the first question, I only shared what I knew, so I also have to check.
Yeah, and also this is from Satyaraj Prabhu's book. So on the topic of the material pollution, so it says, the saints and sages have for millennia bathed in the Ganges, renowned for its purity. This is so despite the fact that people wash, litter, and defecate directly in the river. Although presently the Ganges is exposed to chemical waste and a variety of pollutants, expert insists that its waters are pure. For example, Dr. John Howard Northrop, a co-winner of Nobel Prize for Chemistry in 1946, has said, "We know the Ganges is highly contaminated, yet Indians drink out of it, swim in it, and are apparently not affected. Perhaps bacteriophage, the bacteria destroying virus, normally present in the lot of technical words here, sewage renders the rivers sterile. Whatever the reason, the Ganges remains pure and purifying for all who bathe in its rivers." Even as recently as 1999, Professor Charles Wilcott, a marine biologist and Indologist, looked at Ganges River water and concluded there is something mystical about Ganges water, something that separates it from ordinary liquid with the same or similar chemical composition. My findings point to an extraordinary phenomenon when it comes to the Ganges. So maybe there's something there. But yes, I mean, we cannot deny the fact, like as Adi Purush Prabhu said, that the spiritual dimension is a very different dimension. And in a similar way, like at the bodily level, we see the destruction and death and all that. But on the spiritual level, we are eternal. So maybe there is something that I'm not sure if that helped, but I just wanted to.
Yeah, so even like if we had to go to Vrindavan by ourselves without realizing what we've heard about Vrindavan or Mathura in the past times, we would just think of it as any ordinary Indian town, which is crowded, chaotic, lots of people, dusty. But if we see it through the eyes of our spiritual master, we can actually appreciate it and see this is beyond the external. We need to see beyond the external. We need to go beyond the external and kind of digest the fact that this is not anything, or it's not an ordinary place. And I think that can only come, I think, the more we listen and how more spiritually advanced we are. So eventually I think it's a matter of faith that in the Shastras.
Thank you so much. This was all very helpful. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Thank you. And then Manjari will share the link with you for the BTG article. Thank you so much. Gorshan Prabhu, is there anything you would like to
I just saw Mother Andrea raise her hands if she wants to share anything.
Hare Krishna, Brajavilasini and Adbhuta Krishna Prabhus. Thank you so much for this class. I just wanted to reflect back on when Brajavilasini was talking about having faith, and also how when you were young, that story of the kings like really continuing to endeavor to bring Mother Ganga and not losing hope and not thinking, oh, because my ancestors were unable to do this, then I won't be able to do it. It really hit home for me in a material kind of way, because my husband and I are currently trying to buy a home, and as some of us may know, like the current housing market is very, very, very crazy. And because of what's going on, like my husband reminded me, I don't know if you've heard of the Serenity Prayer. It's from the Christian tradition. And this is not the exact wording of it, but it reminds me of what you were talking about. It says, you pray, "Oh Lord, please give me the serenity to accept what I cannot change. Please give me the courage to act on what I can change. And please give me the wisdom to know the difference." It's always a little slightly different, but that's the gist of it. And it reminded me of what you were sharing, Brajavilasini Prabhu, because it's that matter of faith, right? Of us, like, endeavoring to ask the Lord to give us the faith, the patience, the serenity to accept the things that we cannot change, that which is beyond us, but then also to give us the courage to step in, just like how that, king was like, he still had the courage to understand and the wisdom to understand what he could change. So when you shared that, I was just like, oh, okay, whenever I have a problem, Krishna always endeavors for me to put into the Srimad Bhagavatam class, like reinforcing the answer to my problems. And when you started speaking, I like started laughing because I was like, okay, Krishna, I get it. So thank you so much. I really appreciate both of you. Thank you. Please come back and continue to give classes.
Thank you so much. Thank you for sharing. Yeah, even I've seen in my life, I've seen that if I reflect back on things and oh wow, and some of the things were like, I feel were at that time like impossible to do, but somehow they've happened. And now when you look back, you realize that you had nothing to do with it on why it happened. There was something external. There was a higher reason for why it happened. There was no way with my sense of courage or I could possibly do it. There had to be something which made it happen. There was some grace involved. So thank you so much for sharing.
Beautiful prayer. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Can you say what is from the prayer of serenity? Is that the right one?
Yes, it's called the Serenity Prayer.
Serenity.
I don't know how much longer, because if I put it in the chat, it might disappear. But if you just Google a Serenity Prayer and Christian, it's very, very popular, and you can see it, and it's beautiful.
Yes, and the empowerment comes as Bhakti Tirtha comes. And in this case, even I was thinking Bhagirath Muni was actually being an instrument of Kapila Dev's instruction, who's the personality of Godhead. So when we are guided by the message of the purity of the great saints, devotees, then the empowerment comes. And also thinking about the Rath Yatra, like this was my first time being in the back end of Rath Yatra. It was such a big endeavor, but it's such turned out so beautifully, and it's impossible without some devotees take that step of going out of their comfort zone, and then Krishna gives mercy if our attitude and our mood is right. So I was just reflecting on that. So thank you for sharing and encouraging also. Yes.
Thank you, both of you. Thank you for sharing and for this wonderful discussion. Thank you, Mother Andrea, for sharing the prayer also. So extremely grateful for your taking out the time and coordinating and preparing. Very grateful. I know it's you both work and it's a busy schedule for you. So thank you very much. Hare Krishna.
All glories to
Her Grace Brajavilasini Devi and His Grace Adbhuta Krishna Prabhu ki jai.
Shila Prabhu, Muridhar.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you. See you all soon. Hare Krishna. Jai Shri Prabhupada.